Well, hi there, everybody. We're back. Season 2, Episode 1 of the Hard Truth Inside the Football Industry podcast. Here with Championship Chairman, co-owner Darragh MacAnthony of Peterborough United. How has the summer been, Darragh?
Guess who's back? Shady's back. We should like a theme tune to this. Season 2 is here, motherfuckers. And absolutely delighted to welcome you. Really exciting. One step from heaven now of the Premier League. I always say that, one step from heaven. And very, very excited, Philip. Very excited for Bradford this season. I think they're going to be up there. Very excited for the Posh and our upward trajectory of growth. And it's been a really... I was lying in bed the other night and I was thinking, because last time I was in England was in May after the Lincoln game. And I was thinking, my God, was that really nearly 2.5 months ago? And like, where the fuck is the time flown? You know,
it's insane, isn't it?
It's mad. You know, borrow my 20-odd day holiday in Dubai, you know, do whatever else. Where has the summer gone? But I actually feel since we stopped in May, I haven't stopped. And it's really funny because an editor friend of mine who runs a big newspaper was messaging me this morning saying, can you speak to one of our journalists about a story, you know, some stuff on the transfer market. And I said, look, I'm fucking busy, And he goes, well, you know, isn't that your job? And I went back and said, fuck you, I don't get paid. And I said, like, I don't get paid for this shit. But yes, it's my passion. It's not my job. And to be honest, since it ended in May, what have I been doing? Well, straight off the bat, dealing with the bonus payouts at the end of May, dealing with expectations for the new season, dealing with executing Plan A. I had Plan A and Plan B. Having to do 9 new player contracts, recruitment meetings, then getting into the bones of Target A, Target B, Target C, setting up agents and players to come meet the manager, doing a lot of that from America, doing a lot of it from the swimming pool in Dubai. If you know, my wife, if she recorded some of the stuff that went on, like when we get in the pool during the day in Dubai, she had one bit of footage of me on the phone. I'm there on the phone, the kids are all in the background throwing balls around, and I'm having a fucking round with an agent and a player on like a conference call while I'm in the swimming pool. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of like, I'm not one of them that goes on holiday and shuts down. I'm at it every day because that's who I am. I'm just at it. I want us to improve all the time. It's relentless. And, you know, the manager, the players have had a good break during the summer, come back from pre-season. Because the world we live in, as usual, COVID fucking things up. You know, we'd spent a lot of money to go to Portugal. Then obviously that got pulled because of all the whole pinging shit when you get off an airplane and they ping you even though you're 400 seats back. So then we're trying to dig around, trying to find a place in England to go to. Not one venue we could get. We had Celtic Manor, then we didn't have Celtic Manor. We ended up getting a couple of days up in Chelsea for a game. Then we had COVID out, you know, a couple of players got COVID. You know, signings, we were signing a player like Poku, we signed 10 days ago. And the day we agreed to deal, he gets fucking COVID, so we couldn't bring him down for the medical. I mean, it was just like that, you know, all summer. But like my wife said to me at the end of the Dubai holiday, what are you moaning about? It's like this every year. You know, like, you know, every time we're on holiday, you're moaning like fuck about agents. You're having rounds with agents, with players. You feel like you're never going to sign a player, and you always get it done. So she goes, it's just same old shit, just a different year. So I'm like, you're absolutely right. So yeah, and obviously really excited to bring a podcast back, and now we can, you know, as a platform, as a championship kind of podcast, you know, on football and the ins and outs. And we're going to have a good season on the podcast, and hopefully we'll get the viewership up.
Yeah, it's been interesting. You know, we've been doing the business pod every week all the way through the summer, so we've been still kind of in touch, and it's interesting to see, like, as the pre-season for everybody else, kind of they stop thinking about football for a little while, or it dies down a little bit. That's kind of when you go into high gear. So I think you had maybe 3 days to celebrate getting promotion, and you're already back at your planning meeting, like the Tuesday or the Wednesday after the end of the season.
It was mental because, as I said to you, the Saturday we got promoted, I remember leaving the club at 9 at night. And I know the players, the staff, they party till Tuesday. I think they were like in the pub for like 36 hours straight. And I always remember on the Sunday when everyone was probably still drunk, I was at my computer at 7:30 because I had been waiting 10 years to open that Plan A document and start getting going. I was like a kid at Christmas. I couldn't wait to just delete Plan B, open Plan A, and start dreaming about the additions, the signings, the fixtures, the different financial permutations, and solving those puzzles. And shit, we got £1 million in bonuses to pay out. How do I get that paid across the summer instead of the end of June and cash flow shit? All those little things that you got to suddenly go bang, 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 bang. I mean, I live for this shit. And I've always said that, I love, it's not about the money for me. I know people are in the game for money, agents, players, staff, that's their bread and butter. For me, it's just the love of doing it, as sick as that sounds. I just love being involved in the industry, really do.
Well, I think, a lot of people listening, myself included, certainly appreciate it. I kind of know that, because I think we're all got that passion to want to be in that position. So what is plan A?
Well, plan A was always to sign a certain different caliber of player from League One, but still with a sprinkle. Plan A was always to improve. We've had a very good team. People ask me about, what's the expectation and da. But if you look at our 11, say 14, we probably have a really strong 14, and we have for 20 months. If you go back through, the points per game shit show, right to winning promotion last year and being one of the best teams in League One, nothing's really changed player-wise. We've had pretty much the same players, with a sprinkle of young players who've got better and better as they got older. So, the signings last year were with us during the points per game thing, where we Reece Brown and Sammy Schmoddock's coming in. Even now we brought Josh Knight back. He was with us when the whole points per game. So we have like a group of lads that have been together through thick and thin, through the shit, through the good, the bad, the ugly, and the ecstasy of promotion the last 20 months. So they're really grounded. They're really, I know it sounds sickly, but they're there for each other. And we're really confident in what they can do. So what my mission was, in unison with the manager and with my partners, was to help them and give them not just a strong team, but a strong squad. And being in the championship, probably the fifth, sixth best league in the world, one of the most physical leagues in the world, we needed to get them help. And it's not about get experienced players in, bring Premier League players in. No, we don't go away from our morals. We don't go away from what we do as a football club. We want to strengthen what we do as a football club and sprinkle that squad with strength. And it doesn't matter if a player's 17 or a player's 32, as long as they fit the criteria of being good characters, of adding to the dressing room, having that ability that we can improve on the pitch. We feel by the end of the window, we'll probably have a very, very well put together squad. Now, the things that can go out the window there are injuries, issues, COVID. So that's always in the back of your mind. And, the good news for us is Marriott's had COVID already. Clark Harris has had COVID. Ricky J. Jones has had COVID. Poku's had COVID. Dembele's had COVID. All the goals on our team.
You're good for your forwards then.
They got natural fucking immunity. So it's like fucking wonderful. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes, great if all the players get vaccinated. And I encourage that, because they'll lose a lot of appearance money if they have to isolate. So, health-wise, do they need it? No, but it would be good for them to get vaccinated. So most of our young attackers and players in those key positions fucking have immunity. So that's probably the only positive. We felt there was a big one happening against Portsmouth on Saturday. Jack Taylor went down and everyone was shitting themselves. Is this the hamstring again? And we're going on like he's got a serious hamstring issue. He's not. He did it in February and he missed 6 games. We brought him back and he did it in the final game of the season, or the second final game. And we've worked on that over the summer. We talked to hamstring specialists, and there is no underlying massive issue in there. But what happened on Saturday was he went down and it was actually a bit of cramp. And we had it scanned and we got the all clear yesterday. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. So that's like signing a new £10 million player. Because we were going into the first league game of the season going, fuck, because that's an area, if anywhere, we're a little bit short on. And an area that we're going to improve with hopefully a couple of signings. Do you know what I mean? So from my perspective, has it been an up and down summer? No, it's been a normal summer. Lots of aggro, lots of shite, but lots of joy. And again, going into the season in good shape. And like this morning, I'm just finalising, you got to agree with the players' bonuses for the season. 10 million if you get to the Premier League, blah, 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 the usual dream stuff. X amount per point, X amount per win. It's what you've got to do when you're in the champ. I'm finalising a couple of deals. Touch wood, all goes to plan. And a lot of my work's coming to fruition, as you've seen with some of the signings come through.
Yeah. How have you found working with agents over the summer, as being a championship club now versus a League One club? Has that changed any of the dynamics?
Oh, yeah, big time. They want more money. The players want more wages. There's a lot more snobbery about coming to Peterborough. If Peterborough is vying to win League One's title, every player wants to join. Peterborough in the championship, these players look at us and go, what are they going to be like in the championship? Not quite as attractive, all that kind of crap. So you're dealing with that. And we've fought some battles. We've won some, we've lost some. Some we've just moved on from because it was just ridiculous. And you're getting expectations for some players like, we want to be the highest paid player at your club, and it's like, no, fuck you. Because I have to protect the dressing room. and I have to protect the sanctum, or the inner sanctum of that dressing room, that all the players are on a muchness. Young players are all pretty much similar amounts. The experienced players you would call, the 25 to 29-year-olds, because we haven't got many older players, are all on similar money and incentives. And if I bring players in and blow that apart, it will create a horrible negative vacuum in the dressing room. Like when I was signing Jack Marriott, I spoke to Jack personally and said, look, Jack, you could go get more money elsewhere. You could probably get 30% more money, but you got to come on our pay scale. It's not like we don't pay. We do pay. We pay well. The incentives, we pay very well for a club our size. And I said, do you want to come into a dressing room as the big time Charlie on double what everyone else is on? That can't happen. And he was like, totally understand. After the couple of years I've had, I just want to enjoy playing. I want to be around lads the same. And the last thing I want to do is upset anyone. Absolutely. He had been offered more money by another ex-manager type thing and other clubs. And he was like, I want to come back to Peterborough. So that was an easy one. Do you know what I mean? So again, we signed George Grant. And again, an easy one because he fits into what we do, similar to our players. He's from Lincoln. He's not far. Doesn't really have to move. It was a nice, easy fix. Josh Knight, Frankie and Sammy had been stalking him about coming back because obviously they're like part of the threesome there, them three, as lads. And again, we'd worked on it since May. It didn't look good. He was kind of looking like he'd go to maybe a bigger club. It's why I said early on that he wasn't in our plans because we didn't think we'd get him. But then we got the call that was a possibility, and we made the deal with Leicester. So that was an important one as well. So again, you see the signings we've made, they're very Peterborough United-like.
Yeah, you still are dipping into talent in lower divisions. You looked at, you just signed Kwame Poku, for example. And I think I saw, and forgive me for not remembering his name, but you went into non-league and got somebody from Eastleigh last week. So you're still kind of looking at those kind of players and bringing those through.
So Brentford have left the stage that was ours before they took it. And we got relegated from the champ and they went up, and then they took that stage of getting the best young EFL talent. And I would say Brentford now would be shopping elsewhere, bar the odd big one in the EFL, but probably from the Championship more than League One, League Two. So that vacuum's opened up and we can get back on that stage. And the boy Tomlinson from Eastleigh was a no-brainer. But trust me, this one could be special. Left foot, right foot, attacking, bombing, full back, can defend, strong. Our players were wow on day one of training. They're like, where did this kid fucking come from? So we feel we've got a bonus there. An absolute low-cost gem risk, zero risk in my opinion. Poku's a really funny one. We've chased him for like probably 18 months. I actually put a bid in for him 18 months ago. And it was turned down. Colchester wanted a lot more money. And the boy's, 19? So he was 18 at the time. And he was hitting all the metrics on our list. We saw him as something special, could be special. And the manager said to me early in the summer, because we were talking about gems, and I said, Poku. And he said, what about Poku? Do you think he's available? Again, after all the work we did, we feel our coaches could improve him. So I put a thing into Colchester, and I was astonished when they came back. And because he didn't have a great season last year by maybe his standards, a young player could blow hot and cold, we got him for a lot less than what we bid 18 months ago. So we felt it was a bargain. And we felt it was an absolute zero risk because he's got everything. He can play, if you go 4-2-3-1, behind the striker, he can play left, middle, right. He's got all the tangibles to be a top player. But the beauty about the deal is it's non-risk because there is no pressure on him getting into the team against Luton on Saturday. We're not expecting miracles from him this side of Christmas. We've got him in the building. He'll work with our coach. We've got brilliant coaching staff. Mark Robson, Matty Edgerton, the under-23s. We will improve him. You will probably see him after Christmas. That's when you see him physically be stronger, technically be better, all the things he's got. And he's technically wonderful, by the way. What he's probably missing is an end product, goals and assists. Well, that's our specialty. So it's our job now to polish that, to finesse that, and it's the boys' job to buy into that and improve. So again, an absolute no-brainer. And that's not going to be the last of it. Our job now is to bring in the best young EFL talent that we feel fits our dressing room, all the characteristics. And look, we're not bloating the squad. We're bringing in players who are going to make a difference. A player like Poku at 19, we're okay if he takes a few months. We're working on another deal that's the first 11 player, that might be stepping up, but we feel there's mass potential. So, yeah, we still have a bit of business to do. I would say 3-4 deals. Again, we got the good ones in early that we wanted to get done, plan A. A couple of the ones still to do were always plan A, but they've taken a bit longer. And then there'll be a couple of plan Bs, which will end up being better than plan As. So we're okay with that. And you know, I'd love to get them all done today, but that's just not going to happen.
How about outgoings? Are you still getting interest? You know, we've talked, I think, till we're blue in the face about Dembele over the course of last season and what's going to happen with him. And there's been rumours about Clark Harris. You know, are you expecting any movement?
Yeah, so the fringe players will go, like the goalkeeper. Broom's gone on loan. I'd expect Plymouth to buy him. There'll be a couple of more fringe players, maybe a loan, maybe a sale in certain areas when we bulk up in those areas. So, you know, because we're very much of mind, we don't want to pack the training ground. Now, we do have an under-23 side for a lot of because we've had a lot of good young players coming through now with Cat 2. So, and we've got coaches designated for that. It's got its own league, training ground set up for that. But yes, I mean, the Dembele thing, look, there are teams out there that would give me 2 million tomorrow from. And the reason being is they'll probably have a question mark over him. Because they're like, well, can he do it in the champ? You know, what's his character like? All those little things. If he gets in the team and plays well till the end of August, he'll be sold. No doubt in my mind he'll be sold. But that's on him. We can only do what we do for players. We give them the platform to do the rest for themselves. So if he wants the dream move, he's got to help himself, you know, the month of August, and he get the dream move. Clark Harris, unless there's an outrageous offer, no way. You know, he's our talisman. He's our, you know, EFL League One's best player, Golden Boot winner. No, we don't want to sell Clark Harris. Now, it would take a fucking outrageous offer for us to even like to flinch. And I don't mean 5 million or 6 million, not a fucking chance, because in the championship, players like him, very important. So we're very comfortable about that. So the Dembele one, we're preparing for life afterwards, and you'll see that with the moves we're making. And we're not losing any other assets to the team. You know, we want to thrive this year. That's a big thing for us. We want to grow. And if we keep selling our best players, that's not going to happen. Particularly if you sell two of your best players. So one, you get by, like a Dembele sell. Two, no, you can't do that. You know, we want to grow. We want to climb. So, you know, myself, my partners, and fair play to them, because they've been on board with this since day one. This is the plan. So we're very, very excited. And some of those young players pre-season, I mean, I've talked about Ronnie Edwards before, my nickname from the stadium. Yeah, outrageous. I mean, he'll be in the 11 in no time, in my opinion. I don't pick the team, but he's been the best central defender in pre-season, without a shadow of a doubt. So you're on merit, he'd be in the team. But I'm not sure the management staff would be, well, I would use the word brave enough, and Swanee, don't quote me on that. But obviously, we've had an excellent back line the last 20 months. It was like the third, fourth best defence last year. You're going to be loyal to those players going into Luton and the open fixtures. But I would wager, I'd put a wager on that Ronnie Edwards will eventually force his way in and stay in that team. And he'll be the best 18-year-old centre-back outside the top 5 in the Premier League. That's a massive prediction, but I've never seen as many staff and players excited about this boy.
Yeah, and you've got and the youth players you've got coming through are like new signings. Like folks don't really know what to expect because they've not seen them, and perhaps they hear the hype, but they think, well, you know, he's only a kid. But when they start to see him, I know Ricky J. Jones is the other one that you're expecting big things over this year.
Yeah, they blow your mind because you watch these preseason friendlies and you haven't seen a young player for 3-4 months, and suddenly they look unrecognisable. Because a 16, 17-year-old 4 months into a summer can go through spurts of growth and physicality, and they blow your mind. We had a left back this summer, Aaron Powell, and I swear to you, I've never seen a left peg for crosses. And he was in and out of the youth team last year due to injury, but he's got a hell of a chance, you know. And we've got other young players like that, and obviously Ricky's another one. But you will see this year how better they'll become as they're playing the under-23s, which is a much better level, technical-wise, than under-18 football. They're going to be playing Premier League under-23s. So that year with Matty Edrington, who's just won 2 league titles in a row under 18s, coaching them with his staff just under 23s for a year, we won't recognise those players January onwards. So it will bring them on because of the level of like competition they're going to play. And that's the whole idea of moving that category up and getting your under 23 league and having a better under 18 league. So yeah, we're actually closer than ever before to getting to the point where I won't have to keep buying the EFL's best young talent. We will get to the point where we'll just produce it. And it'll be the odd one we get. It won't be 2 or 3. It'll be basically coming from our own in-house thing. And that's where we've always wanted to be. And that's a credit again to my partners.
Now, you lost a couple over the summer. You lost Flynn Clark and Adler Nascimento. You know, I wonder if you want to talk a little bit about that, but then how do you kind of keep those that have options when they're younger because the contractual
It's
situation
really
as you're
difficult.
starting to breed
It's,
those?
it's really difficult. Like, Flynn Clark was part of the batch with Harrison and Ricky in those last year. We tried to give them all 3-year contracts and security, but, triple their money. They were getting involved with the first team. They were going to play games. And we tried to do that. All the others' agents were very, very amenable to deal with. No problems. Flynn Clark's agent very clearly didn't want to do a deal. So we kind of felt early on what the whole MO there was. They just wanted him to go. There's very much a relationship between the agent and Norwich. One of his agents, his father works at Norwich. So I was falling out with the agent by email all the time, the main agent, who just made it very clear with the words and the crap he was saying to me, he was never going to sign a contract. We spoke to the player multiple times. It's difficult, an 18-year-old lad, are you open to a contract? Yeah, not really. He wanted to go himself. So good luck to him. He sees playing in the under-23s at Norwich as a step up. Okay, fine. We felt he could be a star this year in the Championship for his homegrown club. So it makes no sense whatsoever. I can't reason with the logic. I wish him well. He's recovering from an injury at the moment, so I don't think he'll be back till October. There's a talented player in there, and if everything else follows, he can make it. But I've been here 15 years. I've seen talented players come and go. The other one, Adler, I don't want to get into it. I'm angry about it because he's again, one of the best. Again, an agent wanted him to move, didn't want him to stay. This urgency from some players, agents, and parents because they want to see the dollars, before players even turned 18. And that wasn't Flynn Clark, by the way, because his parents are wonderful, and always have been with the club, and definitely aren't driven by money. I'm talking about other players per se who listen to foreign agents and listen to the hype. And then you get 8-9 Premier League clubs who, because he's a scholar, want to nick in there and get him signed and then deal with us afterwards. Now, most clubs actually offered us up front. He's gone to a club. I'm still dealing with that club. I'm hoping by the time the podcast is done, there's a deal struck. I fucking hope so. So we've always had a good relationship with the club he's gone to. I don't expect it to be anything else but a good resolution. And we wish him well. And maybe you won't hear from him for 5 years or whatever because he has to go through the whole system there. But I know if he'd been a Peterborough, you would have heard from him by the age of 18. So I don't know what's in a player's head. For me, I always say to a player, football first, money second. If the football comes first, the money flows. If money comes first, sometimes football doesn't follow like you'd like it to. So, but this is a different world. It's not a normal world we're used to. It's where agents, parents, everyone is involved. I still deal with players during the summer who are 23 who listen to their daddy still. 23, 24, I was making my first million. I love my dad, but I certainly wasn't listening to him and letting him tell me what to do. Some of the players I meet, they wouldn't take a shit without listening to their dad or their agent. I wish sometimes some of them, particularly the ones in their 20s, grew the fuck up. And were men, proper men. They're the kind of ones who should make it in the business. But far too many of them are like, no, my dad doesn't fancy it, or my agent doesn't fancy it. But what do you fancy? Yeah, I'd come. Okay, well, they fucking work for you. Because I take it your dad's so interested in your career, he's on the fucking payroll. So really, the dad and agent work for you. So what do you want to do? Well, I listen to my dad and my agent. Okay, fuck off. So there's a lot of that still going on in football. It's very, very frustrating. Really, really difficult.
Yeah, and it's easy to get lost in those systems, isn't it? And before you know it, they're loaned out to League One or League Two, and without having the opportunity to really to prove themselves at a higher level. And then it takes you a League Two loan, then a League One loan, and then you maybe a Championship loan.
You're absolutely right. I want nothing but the best for our academy graduates, and I want them all to be level-headed. I want their parents to realise that money will come. It takes time. First thing is football. Let's make them good young men. Let's make them good footballers. Let's get them in the first team. Then let's reward them. You ask Harrison and Ricky J. Jones and Ronnie, they're earning far more than any other 18-year-olds in the world earns. But they're not earning ridiculous money. They're not earning money which makes them too arrogant and makes them too big for their shoes. They're earning money where they have a good basic, and then they get great money when they're in the team. And that's the right way to do it. When they've then played 50 games and they get to 20, we'll do another contract. And that is the way it should be. And I've always argued about we've got to bring in provisions to protect teenagers from too fast, too soon. And I'll give you an example. We spoke during the summer because you make calls about different players. And this isn't a player we're bringing in, so I don't want anyone thinking or accusing a club or whatever else. But we spoke to a club out there in the world of football who had, it was an 18-year-old available to go on loan. And we were all sat around in the hotel listening. And the director of football said, look, the player's on 42 grand a week, but we'll do a loan for 15 grand a week. And everyone around just looked and started fucking laughing, like 15 grand a week. So first of all, you got an 18-year-old on 42 grand a week. And by the way, guys, this isn't Chelsea, so everyone, before they start piling in, relax, it's not. And I was like, 42 grand a week? He goes, yeah, that's just his basic. Do you want me to go through his bonuses? I'm like, fuck off. He's never been on loan. He's never been outside the club system. How the fuck is an 18-year-old on 42 grand a week?
It's incredible.
It's obscene. It's grotesque. It cannot happen. It should be illegal. Like, no way. I'm sorry, no way. So, and then the idea that we pay a loan wage of 15 grand a week for an 18-year-old. Do you know what I mean?
They were doing you a good one.
Yeah, they were doing us a favour. I couldn't stop fucking laughing. Needless to say, the player's still not gone out on loan. So, you know, and again, I'm like, who makes the decision to do these deals? Like, who does these deals? I sometimes wonder, like, what on earth are you doing? I don't get it. Do you know what I mean? So, look, sometimes it's not just about signing a player. It's getting into the player's character. It's getting into the players to see if they've got bollocks. No, we were doing a deal early in the summer for a forward, and we agreed the fee, and we pretty much, he was on X amount, and we'd agreed like what he was on, but also with incentives and everything else. Mm-hmm. And the player, who wasn't getting in their first team at that time, was so paranoid would he get in our 11? Because of Marriott and Clark Harrison, and we were like, well, we're spending a hefty fee on you. We would hope you would fight and get into the 11. This is Peterborough. Look what we do for strikers. Yeah. Anyway, in the end, we backed away because the player wasn't showing that level of, he was quite happy to sit where he was and, never getting in that team, maybe go out on loan. He ends up going out on loan to League One. And I'm looking at it going, you've turned down a chance to move to the one club who's probably, and I'm not trying to, give us kudos here, the best club for young strikers in the world. And we're now in the Championship. So if you come off at Peterborough, you could be getting a 20 million quid move in a year. Mm-hmm. Think of what we've done for strikers. And you haven't backed yourself. Instead, you've fucked off on loan to League One. Like, what the fuck does that say about your character? Think about that. Think about it. Do you know what I mean? So again, this is the world you're dealing in. But I'd rather find out about players' characters before you sign them. And unfortunately, that's a big part now of the game. It's not just about talent and skill. It's character, and you have to sign people with the right character. So that's fundamentally so important now.
So I've got so many questions, but I'll ask this as the last question kind of on your summer for now, and I'm sure we're going to dig into these in subsequent podcasts. But, you look 12 months forward now. Yeah. What's the goal?
Growth every year. So we now are on a plan. We bought a stadium. We're looking to build a new stadium. So we've got a Cat 2 Academy. We want to grow every angle of the club, our crowd base, our league position, our value base, our players' earning potential, our commercial potential, our category getting better and better in Cat 2, producing better players, doing well in the leagues that they're competing in, improving everything about what we do. We're on like a growth spurt. We just want to keep growing. We're hungry. Everyone at the football club now is starving for just like, we've had a taste of it the last 20 months of a real successful period. And we want more. And you can call that greed or whatever, but it's healthy greed. We just want to improve everything about what we do. The fan experience, better. Football style, better. You know what I mean? Score more goals, better. Better defense, technically. Everything about us better. People want to say, well, what's your league prediction? Are you here to survive? Are you here to do this? We're here to thrive. We're not here to take part. We're not here to be just another number. We just want to get better about every single thing we do as a football club. And that's from the top all the way to the bottom. And we feel, bar the setbacks and floods at the stadium and COVID outbreaks and everything we've had to deal with, we feel the last 20 months has prepared us for this growth spurt because we've come through and overcome so many hurdles that would have finished most clubs off. And we've managed to smash every hurdle that's hit us, from being shut down, from points per game disappointment, from financial issues during COVID with no income, from the stadium flooding twice, losing all our power, electricity, pre-season tours cancelled. The things we've had to deal with, you wouldn't believe. You put them in a book. But I think they're preparing us for some good things. That's the way I like to think as an optimist. So I'm excited, you know what I mean? And it's just, for me, every year has got to be growth.
Now, there was one question I was going to ask in kind of the questions that we got from listeners section, but I'm going to ask it here because I think it's relative to what we've been talking about. It's from Michael, and Michael just asks kind of, what did you learn from the last time in the championship that, you're going to do differently because of that experience?
We felt we got it right last time, even though we lost 14 of the first 18 games, bizarrely enough. For the next 28 games, we were in the top 4 in championship form. It just took us 3.5 months to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the anomaly of the points and the statistics, that normally would have finished us 14th, 15th in any given season since. So that would have been absolutely getting everything right. And we had one of the youngest teams in the league at the time. So we feel we've learned a lot of lessons from that. We as a club are a lot stronger. I've now got 2 brilliant partners. So the club's 3 times stronger in that point of view. We own our own stadium. We have better young players of our own. We don't have to sign so many excess external players.
Mm-hmm.
We went into that season where we didn't bring a striker in until November, i.e. Dwight Gale. So we'd lost our striker in the summer. We played the first few months of the season without, that main top pedigree striker.
Yeah.
Different this time. So there's a lot of things we've learned. Our staff are stronger. We've got better staff behind the scenes. The infrastructure is stronger. I'm hoping all that pays off. Will it take us time to adjust? Sure. Look at the last 2 years. We've started pretty crappily and everyone's laughing at me. Last year, look at our start and everyone's writing us off. Everyone's going, your revenge tour, vengeance tour. Well, fuck you by the end of the season, because it was vengeance delivered indeed. So the point is like, you can have your laughs, you can slag us off, you can do whatever. It makes us stronger as a club. Bring it on. Keep throwing it at us. Keep calling us fucking Tim Pot. Keep calling us Little Peterborough. That's all right for us until we're not, because we won't be. You know what I mean? And that's the whole idea. So what have I learned from last time? Better planning, more resilience, no panic, be calm, be surgical and clinical in how you sign players, and make sure you got goal scorers from the get-go.
Yeah. So let's have a little bit of a race through the leagues. We'll leave the Premier League for next week. When you think about the Championship, what's kind of the lay of the land? Like, what are you looking for? Do you think it's going to be pretty open? Is there a couple of folks who are kind of nailed on to be doing well? I mean, when you survey the landscape, what do you see?
I see, your West Broms, your Fulhams, your Sheffield Uniteds do pretty well. They've all got very good managers, and all 3 of them have pretty much got very, very, highly qualified managers. A couple of them have already won promotion from the Championship. They've got seasoned ready players for the Championship. They have financial infrastructure. They haven't really spent any money this summer, but they could if they wanted to. If Sheffield United sold their goalie, sold a midfielder, they'd have 50, 60 million to spend. You spend 20 of that, makes a hell of a difference. A lot of teams outside of the 3 that have come down, and then say your Bournemouths and a couple of other clubs around that didn't go up last year, are strong. The rest are very much of a muchness what's happened the last few years, and with COVID, the finances. So there's going to be a really strong pack for me of 4 or 5 teams, like very strong. There'll be a couple of surprises. The teams that have come up from League One, I expect them to do well. You've got other clubs like your Barnsleys and Lutons who are a credit to their profession and the way they run and the way they've kind of taken there to the Championship after a couple of seasons, like ducks to water, very established. And your Lutons of the world are a great example of everyone's trying to slag Derby and other clubs for being in financial issues and all these problems. But if you look at Luton 7, 8 years ago, probably longer, 10 years ago, they were really poorly run. They ended up out of the Football League. They went into the non-league. They got a new ownership group in who've been superb, and they've risen. And now they're 1 league from the Premier League. So the message in there is to people who panic about the state of their football club, don't worry, because as Luton show you, it can be done. Do you know what I mean? And that for me. So, and then there are other clubs in the Champ who, whilst they might have up and down issues the last few years, they're still good Championship clubs, big in size. The Forest, Birmingham, Huddersfield in the Premier League 3 years ago. You go through that Championship, it really is the 5th, 6th best league in the world. There's no doubt about it, you know what I mean, in terms of so many things. It's exciting. It's such an exciting challenge. So ask me to pick 3 people to go up, I couldn't. Ask me to pick somebody to run away with the league. Again, I couldn't, because the other thing I'd say is if I said to you, I think West Brom are going to do really well. Well, if they lose Pereira, yesterday came out, was talking about moving. They lose a couple of key players, you're thinking, if I said Sheffield United, I mean, they're set up to do well, and they lose 3 key players, shit, things change. So outside one, Bournemouth, but then again, they're about to lose a striker. I think I saw Sturridge is going. Who else? Sturridge, whatever his name is. And then there was someone else they're going to sell in there. I think Billings they might lose. So if they don't replace, they become weaker. And Barnsley showed you last year that there's a chance in that league. If you get your act together, there's a chance. So it's going to be a fascinating league, to be fair. But if you put a gun to my head and said name the favourite, I couldn't.
You mentioned there about transfers and potentially folks on the move. Is there because it seems like it's been relatively quiet so far? Is there a lot of transfer business still to be done?
So League One's done a lot of business. There's been a lot of ins and outs in League One. You've got your Wiggins and Ipswiches who've gone out and signed a lot of players between them, and probably had to. The Championship, bar the Fulham deal for Wilson for Liverpool, there hasn't been any big signings. The waterfall trickle effect hasn't started. I actually don't think the market's going to get red hot until the final 14 days of August. So when you start seeing Prem teams buy players from Sheffield United, West Brom, Bournemouth, those clubs, suddenly those clubs in the Champ have money. Suddenly they start spending the money around the Champ. Maybe they spend it on players in League One. Then the trickle, I call it the waterfall effect, it starts, and then more starts. And that could happen. It's either going to go bang or it's going to be dead. So it's either going to be a really busy final 2 weeks or a quiet 2 weeks. League One's fascinating because you've got so many good clubs in there. Wigan have done great business. Ipswich have done great business. Like I said before, they needed to. Bolton have come up, big club, good manager. Sunderland fans are probably not happy because they haven't done a lot of business. They lost the league and goal scorer. They're now owned by a billionaire in value, but they haven't really splashed the cash per se. And they've now been on 4 years in League One. We play Portsmouth. Danny Crowley is or Danny Cowley, should I say? I always get the name wrong. Him and his brother know what they're doing. Portsmouth fans aren't happy with their business, but they're going to be a typical League One side. They're going to be thereabouts. Nigel Atkins isn't a mug at Charlton. Expect them to do well. Sheffield Wednesday, even though they've had financial issues and wages, they've still brought in some big hitters already and done deals. They've kept most of their squad. If they adapt, and they've got a very good manager, Darren Moore, it's going to be a really interesting league. I said all along, for me, it was Ipswich and MK Dons were my secret favourite. And now they've lost Russell Martin. I don't think that's the case anymore.
You think he was kind of the glue for them? Because they've made some signings as well some interesting signings over the summer.
Yeah. I said to Barry to tell their owner at the end of the season on the data charts, if they'd had a prolific goal scorer, they would have won promotion last year. Because everything else about their football, from possession, final entries into the final third, told you they were just missing a prolific goal scorer. And that's what they needed to get right this summer. And he went out and got 3 strikers. And I felt the style of play and the way they dominate the ball, they would be top 2 for me. And I think a lot of that's the manager and the staff. Now, the problem for them is they haven't just lost a manager, they've also lost the staff around them. But sometimes if you're manager and staff and they play that way, you can get away. Okay, we lost the manager, someone's going to step in. But they've lost pretty much everyone. They've all gone to Swansea. And they've done it a week before the season starts. So it's a horrendous hangover to all the players in that dressing room, including the players that agreed to come because of who the manager was. And now they're going to have that to deal with. And you're doing that in the league. This is going to be the most horrendous League One to get out of in 25 years. So good luck to them because that's a fucking tough one.
Now, have you followed League Two at all
Yes.
over pre-season?
Yes. I have your boys pegged as one of the top 3 favourites. So I like the business. I'm not personality-wise your manager, not loving.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like his experience. I like his grit. I like the miracle he performed last year at Morecambe. But then again, I'm being unfair because I've never met him. It's just from the outside looking in. Yeah. That works for him. He looks hardcore. And if ever Bradford needed a hardcore manager, and if he gets the backing, and he's had a bit of backing, and I think we're having our friend Ryan on soon on the podcast.
Yeah, he's going to come in next week.
Yeah, so I think this could be the year that Bantams rise again. So I'm excited for you. I'm excited for the fan base. Probably missing in a couple of areas that you could do it a little bit more in, where you'd have a couple of injuries. So I would say you still have some business to do before the window closes to definitely solidify, in my opinion, top 3.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's hard to always go in thinking, because you naturally go in thinking, hoping for the best. And sometimes you think, am I just doing that because of, it's that fans' rose tinted glasses or not? But everything has felt good about preseason so far. It was nice that we did business early. We've historically been a club that's waited around, and we're going to find somebody. Don't worry about it. And then on transfer deadline day, you're finding like who's going to throw me an 18-year-old striker.
And tell me about pre-season games. What do they look like in the games?
They've looked really good. We've beaten Blackburn. We beat Doncaster, although they were COVID-ridden at the time. We just beat Accrington 2-0 at the weekend, and John Coleman came out and said we basically played them off the park. So there's this worry that, do you peak too early? And what does preseason really mean? But momentum-wise, it's looked good.
Bullshit. Let me just say that to you.
Yeah.
Pre-season bullshit. I've been in football 15 years. Like, my partners get a little bit of, one of them anyway, Randy, who I love, gets upset pre-season, we lose a game. And I said, Randy, that was me year 1 to 5. Barry Fry used to sit there telling me to shut the fuck up. Because pre-season means diddly shit. You could win every game, you could lose every game. It means nothing. So what pre-season is to get minutes, to get acclimatized to each other, to get your patterns of play, to get your formation style down, pat. We all know pre-season, first 5, 6, 7 games of any league season, it doesn't mean shit. It really doesn't matter. And we showed that again last year.
Yeah.
So, but it gives you hope. And it does. So I'd ask you, if you lost every game in pre-season compared to winning every game and all the results you've talked about, would it change your perception on the season coming up?
I think that it would be so. We'd have struggled with that because we've had such a bad couple of years that it's more mentally, it's not necessarily the quality on the pitch. It's just, oh, here we go again. Nothing has changed. And I felt like we needed to break the losing mentality that we've had over a couple of years. So if anything, showing that we can win again is probably more important than actually winning, if that makes sense.
There's 3 key reasons I think you're going to finish top 3. One is your manager, because he's a winner. And he's just won promotion from that league, so he knows. The second reason is you now have a chief executive who's getting the owner to bring players in and do what needs to be done. And the third reason for me with Bradford is the crowd. You're now going to be a big club again. Because during COVID, you're not a big club because you're like everyone else with no fans. Yeah. But you now are a big club that will intimidate people. People will now come to that stadium and hear 20,000 Bradford, 15 to 20,000 Bradford City fans going fucking apeshit. That's intimidating. You now have all those key little things that you were missing, the inches, I call them. You've now got the inches back. And looking around League Two, I haven't been impressed with the business done in League Two by other clubs. It's a muchness of a muchness. I couldn't name you 5 clubs that will be thereabouts.
Yeah.
There'll be your usual suspects. There'll be Forest Green, there'll be Salford. You'll obviously have last year, I think Newport failed to get up, didn't they, in the end?
Yeah.
You're going to have those clubs who haven't lost managers. The clubs coming up from non-league, not sure. So, yes, you'll have the clubs that came down from League One. Bristol Rovers have got their own issues going on. Northampton, not sure about the business they've done yet.
Mm-hmm.
They've historically always done well in the league. I honestly think this is the year. I do.
Yeah.
Who do you think's winning promotion out of League Two?
I mean, I feel the same as you. It should be us. I feel like everything is there. I feel that, the quality of the differentiator in getting promoted in League Two isn't always the quality of the players. It's systems. It's people knowing the right things to do. It's organization, all that kind of stuff. And I feel that in Derek Adams, we've got somebody who has been there, done that, and has really drilled that into them early and earlier than before. So I actually feel pretty confident, and I hope I don't live to regret that. But we should be up there. And who's left? I mean, it's a tough one because, like we said, there's not a lot of quality. Clubs like Exeter have done well, but it depends if they can hang on to some of their best players. I mean, they've got other kids coming through. You've got Forest Green, who did well. Now they've changed the manager. Are they going to do better without Mark Cooper? You've got Walsall have been signing a few. You got Stevenage with Alex Ravel, who actually finished really well last season, and I like him and what he does there. So I mean, there's a lot of. It's just a pack, and so I don't know who's going to emerge from that pack.
Give me your 4 who go up.
So 4 that go up. Let's say us. Walsall. Who else we got there? Forest Green, probably, and I would like Newport to go up. I mean, I struggle with Salford, and maybe Salford will do better now that they've gone away a little bit from splashing all the cash everywhere. But
I'll be telling Gary to splash the cash. He's been on to me about players. I'm like, go splash the cash. Go splash that cash again.
Well, I've been burned by Gary Boyer, so it just seems like a really strange choice for them, it being such a pragmatic kind of manager versus perhaps what Salford are usually looking for. So we'll see.
So
what about you?
For me, from League Two, I think Bradford. I think Tranmere
Mm-hmm.
will go up. Mickey Mellon. I think Salford will go up. I think they'll get their act together. And there's 3. And then I'd like to see Exeter go up.
Yeah.
So there's your 4. Give me your 3 in League One.
3 in League One. Ipswich. Let's see, who else have we talked about in there? I still think Sunderland are going to struggle.
Okay.
You know, it's just a hard league to get out of. And like you said, I'm not sure that they've done anything. I would actually have said MK Dons. And so I was interested about your reaction to their manager leaving. And I didn't realize the whole staff had gone, because I think they've got everything that they need. And I don't know, maybe it's Portsmouth's year. I really like the Cowleys, you know, and
Yeah, I would go. That's just Bass ringing about players probably. I would go Ipswich, Wigan, and either Portsmouth or Sheffield Wednesday.
yeah. I guess Sheffield Wednesday with Bruno in charge just depends on kind of how they can get themselves sorted, I guess, financially, and whether they're going to bring any folks in. Wigan have been, it was really interesting and eye-opening, I guess, to see them signing folks like Charlie Wyke. That was a turn-up for me.
No, not for me, because what people don't realise, same with Ipswich, is they've had a turnover the last 2 years where they've got rid of most of their excess expensive players. So they've cleaned the decks. So you're starting Ipswich now this year will have 25,000 fans. So it's really easy for Ipswich to go out and sign players on 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 grand a week. The Gates will pay all the wages. I mean, I know everyone's saying, big spenders, whatever else, but they've made really prudent signings. They've got a double League One winner as their manager, so they've got a chance. Wigan again, they have a new owner, so they've got no debts, they've got no issues. There's no, the historical stuff's done. He's obviously got deep pockets. They've paid, I think, like 8 grand a week or whatever it is that's rumored. He's always been good in a contract year, so they'd like to see him good in the first year of a new deal. If you're going to be critical of Charlie Wyke, he's got to do what's right for him at his age, so he took the right deal. Sunderland, I'm amazed, didn't try and keep him, because they haven't really replaced him. I think they're obviously relying on Will Grigg coming good. So they really need more strikers. Portsmouth, like I said, there's a lot of experience. I know with, Danny and Nicky, the 2 brothers, are like, that they'll give them inches that they haven't had before. So they will be thereabouts. They'll be very dogged. Sheffield Wednesday, I really like Darren Moore. I like the manager. He'll make some good loan signings from higher up. They've already got some very big experience in that squad from the champ. So they're my ones. What about the Championship?
Yeah, what about Lincoln? Like, do you think Lincoln are going to be back at it?
I really want Michael to do well. Wish him well in his recovery from obviously the cancer that he had. And, we speak to them a lot as a club. I was speaking to Liam, their chief executive. I root for them as the underdog to do well. It's such a tough league this year. They've done some really shrewd recruitment. Michael knows the loan market better than anyone, because he's coached so many of those young players, and he's a brilliant coach and manager. So, as an outside bet, would I like Lincoln to nick a spot? Yeah, all day long. You're absolutely right naming me on that one, because 3 times they had to watch people get promoted in front of their eyes last year.
Yeah.
And if any, they've lost so many of those good players. So, I want nothing but the best for them. So I hope they, outside chance, yes, love it all day long.
I just want to come back to League Two, and you mentioned Tranmere. How do you feel about Tranmere without James Vaughan? Because that was kind of a surprise that he hung up his boots. I wasn't really expecting that.
I think Mickey Mellon's such a good manager, experienced manager. I think, they've done okay business. They've got good owners. I think a good fan base at that level. He's won promotion at that level before. I don't think they would have gone down with a points per game thing. Mm-hmm. They were in form. I think they'll go up. Now, whether they do it through the playoffs as usual or automatically, that's another story, but they'll definitely go up.
Yeah. So you asked about the Championship. I mean, it's really hard. I hate this, but it's hard to look past the ones that went down. So, like you said, West Brom, Fulham. I don't know about Sheffield United. It'll just depend on the manager. Like the last time they did it, it was obviously they were this I say small club. Sheffield United are never a small club, but the underdog, I guess, who were able to go up and stay there and everything around Chris Wilder. Like, are they able to replicate that or not? Bournemouth keep plugging away, and I'm sure I'll be spending some more cash to get up there. I would probably say, who am I missing? So I think those 2 I'd go with West Brom and with Fulham. The rest, I'll go with Sheffield United.
Okay, I will go with Fulham, Sheffield United, and Cardiff.
Interesting. So where's Cardiff come from then?
I like Mick. I like what he's done business wise this summer. I think they've got steel, they've got experience. I think they were in periods last year, thereabouts, and then fell off a bit. I think you'll have a good summer with them. I think they've backed him. I think they'll continue to back him. They've been promoted twice in the last 8 years or whatever else, so there's this high probability they'll be thereabouts again. Some of the experience they've got on the side, if they were to crash the playoffs or be in the playoffs, you'd fancy them. So those would be the three for me.
Mm-hmm. All right, so here's one then. Who at Christmas is everyone going to be talking about that you didn't see?
Surprise package. In each league?
Well, if you got them in each league, but let's go with the championship.
In the championship, surprise package? I don't know really, to be fair. I think, I think Luton could surprise a lot of teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think Blackpool have got a very good manager. They could be a surprise. And I think Birmingham, who've kind of like not been the best the last few years, Boyer is resilient. They've made some good signings, so don't be shocked if they're top 10. For me. Who would I say in League One? In League One, who would surprise me and shock me? AFC Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And how about League Two?
League Two is a tougher one. Who'd be a surprise? For me, Stevenage.
Yeah. Now, what do you make of the teams that came up, Hartlepool and Sutton?
Yeah, not like the previous teams that have come up. So, not sure. Hartlepool's a big club for non-league. They're now back in the Football League. You look at the signings, the business, not sure on them too. Might struggle this side of Christmas, catch their wings after Christmas, do the usual, what a lot of clubs that come up do, and find their way to mid-table. So,
It's been interesting in the conference to see a lot of money being spent. A lot of players actually coming down from League Two and even League One in some cases into the conference. You got Phil Parkinson, who's gone into Wrexham, and then taken Paul Mullen with him, which was an eye-opener.
It's a big club. It's not an eye-opener. Paul Mullen people would have questioned whether he could do it at League One. So his offers would have been 2-3 grand a week, 2 years. Wrexham have come in and gone, you know what? We need a golden boot winner. We need to make a statement signing. Let's give the guy I would have done the same. Give him a 3-year deal. I did it with Mark Beavers a couple of years ago. We signed a championship defender, gave him a long-term deal. That's why he came to us. And they've given him 5 grand a week, probably. So all day long, it's a prudent and shrewd signing. And for the owners, they've got loads of money. The people who are at the club, they've got a good manager, a hardened manager. They're going to need more than that around there. They're going to want to get out of that league. You got Stockport to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
You got some hitters in that league.
Chesterfield is spending as well.
Yeah, so that's going to be fascinating. Notts County are still stuck in purgatory of non-league. So there's 3 or 4 big clubs down there, and again, it's only 2 slots. So I've always, for me, it should be 3 up and 3 down, League Two to non-league.
I was actually going to ask that. You look at the clubs that are in there that get stuck in there.
Yeah,
it's such a hard route out.
Yeah, I think 3 up, 3 down. So in my opinion,
and I'm sure you got that top half is probably as good as the bottom half, if not better, of League Two. It's 100%. Like there's a bottom of League Two is pretty awful. Top half of the conference is stronger than that. I mean, I think
should be 3 clubs coming up from there. So I think in the future that has to happen. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting. But so there are all our picks. There are the predictions. Give me your surprise EFL young player under the age of, say, 23 who's going to blow everyone away in the coming 12 months, whether it's League Two, League One, the champ.
Yeah.
Who your minds are going to be.
So honestly, I don't know the landscape that well to be able to pinpoint particularly youngsters, except for ours. And all I can say from our perspective is Rhys Staunton is a kid who a lot is expected of. He made his debut for us when he was 15. He came into the first team beginning last year and looked, one of those players like you were saying about Ronnie Edwards before. He just looks like he belongs. He looked like he was a cut above the rest of the players in the team, to be honest with you, just the time he had on the ball. And then he had hamstring issues. So, it's kind of the typical growing, and that put him out for 6 months. So with that behind him, I'm expecting that if he can get himself in the team, he's going to be another one, like you were saying about Ronnie Edwards, that he's not going to get in the team to start with. He's going to find himself in the team, and it's probably going to be pretty difficult
So he's going to look great in a Peterborough shirt at the end of January.
Well, it depends how much money you've got.
He's only got a year left. Listen.
He hasn't. I'll give you that. He signed, I think, for a year last summer.
I know. His agent told me. Listen. Yeah. I'm joking. There goes the rod. Let's bring it in. No, that's exciting. Okay, that's a good one. Good. Yeah, exciting stuff.
Now, is there anyone that you can share that doesn't give away, who's on your list?
No. I could name 3 who are going to blow up over the next year. I couldn't name them because I want to buy them all. So
you can tell us once you've signed them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll even write them down. You can show them here at the end of the podcast season, whatever. But I could name 5. But I definitely named 3. But I definitely want to sign them. So I ain't naming them now because people like to copy me. And there'll be people listening to the podcast.
What's the maybe you can't answer this one either. What's the going rate for a up and coming star from a League Two or a non-league team?
It depends on the contract situation. Non-league, a couple of $100,000 add-ons, whatever else. League Two, if they've got a long-term contract, if they're really, really highly, in demand, it could be anywhere from 750 to 1.2 million. If it's League One, probably 3-4 times that amount. If they're a teenager, in the Championship, you're talking 15 times that amount. So, as it goes up through the leagues, do you know what I mean? And depending on international recognition and all those things, and they're important. Like young Ronnie was called up by England recently. He trained with the England camp under 19s or under 20s, and they all loved him. So he'll be in England camps all through this year. I'd make a bet that he will get capped by the under 21s. You know what I mean? That alone puts millions on a player's value. So there's a lot of talent in the Football League, and there's some good clubs churning them out. So it'll be interesting to see. It's exciting stuff.
All right. Well, I know we got tons more to talk about, but let's leave it there for this week. I know you've got a TV appearance.
Any questions at all there?
Well, got questions, but it's how much time do we want to spend? Let me see.
Let's give it 10 minutes on the questions.
Let's see then. We have a question from Simon, who's a Posh fan, who asked us, what's the difference in earnings between a Championship and a League One player?
Depending on the tier of the Championship, if it's like bottom 8 clubs in the champ type thing by size and budget, you're probably looking at doubling your money, sometimes a little bit more. If it's a player like an Ivan Toney that goes for big money and gets a move to the top end of the Championship, it's probably 10 times the money. So it all depends. And then if you go again to the Prem, different stratosphere.
Yeah. I have a question from Jonathan who said, you always say you've got a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C for each position. Oh, yes. If you end up with plan C, does it still give you the same buzz when you sign them?
No, but then the buzz can improve when you suddenly realise you've got an absolute fucking starlet on your hands. Mm-hmm. And that's happened too. It's happened where I've signed a high-profile signing and I've signed a C, and the C has been better than the A. That can happen. It doesn't happen all the time, but it can happen. And you actually get more joy when that happens. Like, wow. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Is there something that is a predictor of a, I would say if it's a predictor of a C being able to do that, then they're not going to be a C in the first place. But when you look at those that have been able to do that, has it been more technical or is it mental from that?
It's mental, technical, and physical. So if you're going for a C or a D and it's a player that's coming from 3-4 leagues below, there's so many variables that go into it that have to come off. There's the physicality. There's the technical ability, there's the character, there's the expectation, there's the execution when they get given a chance. They don't usually get as many chances as an A would get. An A would get X amount of games. A C would probably only get 3 or 4 chances. So there's all those things to take into account. And then it also comes down to the one thing that is a variable you don't include is the coaching. Can your coach improve a C and turn him into a B plus to an A minus? So they're all the little inches that matter. And that's why sometimes it's really important to have good coaches at your club.
So how about so we signed somebody in the summer that you had and did quite well for you for a period of time. And I'm thinking about what happens when an A falls to a C. Like, what's the thinking in terms of...
who's this?
So Leanne Cole, who...
Oh, Leanne Cole, right. Absolutely. Should have in his career hit A minus. Should have gone, had all the tangibles. Strong, powerful, quick. When he wants to, can turn it on. I remember he scored 8 games in a row in League One for us. 8 goals in 8 games. And we thought, oh, we've got one here. And then just fell off. And then we ended up loaning him out for a loan fee to Lincoln. He went and won the league with Lincoln and non-league. as definitely playing below where he should be as regards to his ability. That's on him. So, because for me, he's a championship striker and he's not made it as a championship striker. There are players worse than him technically that have played lots of championship football. So that's up to Bradford to get the best out of him. Now, he's now at a club that's a big club. So he could now have a resurgence and could have the best 2 or 3 years of his career. And that's happened too. Lyle Taylor, dropped down, got his move to Sheffield United, went out on loan, ended up at AFC Wimbledon, dropped to League Two, came good, got to the Championship. Lyle would be an example of that. Loads of ability, talent. Penny sometimes drops late for some players. Leagueone might be one of those. Or he could be a bust and he could be at Stevenage by the end of the season.
It's another low risk one for us.
For me, if I'm Lee's agent and the people around him, I'm working on him every day in his mind because he's got everything else.
Now, when you're looking at signing players who have dropped, I mean, do you look at signing players who have gone from like a lot's expected to them to it's not quite come off with the belief that you can turn them around, or do you just stay away?
We've had players released from academies, we've had players dumped from the Premier League, we've had players deemed not good enough. Our team would be littered with them. Johnson Clark Harris was the Lone Ranger, had been at lots of clubs. We finally got him, we turned him. His agents worked on that. Credit to him and the player. And now he's a multi-million-pound striker who's about to take the championship on. So, absolutely, I would never discount anything when looking to sign a player. There's so much that goes into it.
All right, let's go into the last question here is from Paul, who's a Darlington fan. Paul says, this season we've struggled to compete against the full-time Northeast clubs to bring in players. So my question is, what advice would you give to a part-time club who wants to attract some of the best talent into the Conference North area? Would you suggest they set up some sort of scouting network, cast their net further afield than just the locality, perhaps even look a little bit further down the leagues?
Get relationships with good clubs nearby. So if you can get a relationship with Newcastle, Sunderland, areas in that, is that the Northeast, you'd call that. So where you can get 5 of the best loan signings for free, as long as they play. Build your team around. When you're in that level and you don't have a rich benefactor who's going to back you on wages, you need to make sure the core of your team is really talented players who are far too good for that level, but will come together as a team and a band of brothers and will give you that special sauce that you can have that miraculous season and get you into the main conference. Then in the main conference, you can go after full-time players and you can maybe go full-time. 15 years ago when I bought Peterborough, first game I came to watch, Darlington beat us 3-1. I think Leon Knight scored for them. They battered us. They were a big club in League Two. I remember going to the magnificent stadium and you were worried. And we nicked an equaliser in injury time. And Dave Penny was the manager. And to see where they've fallen to and had to, I think the brand new club has had to come from that Darlington. It's just there's football for you right there. And I've seen that throughout the time when I bought Peterborough and we were the bottom of League Two and, bottom 12 places to these clubs who fell out of the league, disappeared, had to rise again. Hereford, Darlington, so many of them. So I wish them well.
All right, well, let's leave it there. We've got plenty left over in reserve for next week. We're going to have, as you mentioned there, Ryan is, all being well, going to join us, the CEO of Bradford, for another chat. So we can question him on all of his pre-season dealings.
We're looking forward to Ryan. We want more guests this season. We want suggestions from fans. I want fans to email Phil. I wanted to suggest who you want interviewed. I'll land them. I'll get Barry to land them. We also need a sponsor. We're going to break 500,000 listens this year. So that is good for a sponsor. So we want someone to be the title sponsor of the show. So again, give them your email, Phil. Tell them who they are.
It's contact@hardtruthfootball.com or just go to the website hardtruthfootball.com/contact and there's a contact form right there. And of course, if you're interested in the business chat, Darragh and I have the Hard Truth business community where we're talking every week to a good, vibrant community of folks helping with business advice and business and non-business, really. It's just really nice conversations that we have with the community. So head over to hardtruthbusiness.com to learn more about that.
Excellent, guys. Listen, have a great opening weekend of the season. Let's dig in. This is where the EFL action is, all right? Hard Truth podcast. You got to push this out on social media. Let's get a lot more listeners on board. Looking forward to season 2 being the best yet.
All right. Thanks a lot, everyone, and we'll be back next week.
Take care, everyone.